Hi, this is Steve with Palladino Power Project, bringing you another video. This time, I want to go over uh, figuring out one's Riegel exponent, the fatigue factor for longer races, say half marathons and marathons. Um, Figuring out that Riegel exponent that was actually manifest from that race. Um, and the importance of this is that over time, at same fitness level, someone's ready for an A race and they've trained well. Typically, their Riegel exponent is going to be similar to what it has been before. So, after a race, it's best to calculate your Riegel exponent and then write it down, record it, so you could refer back to that in future planning. You can actually look at your Riegel exponent history for a given race duration. Say, my marathons typically result in a Riegel exponent of minus 0.90 or minus 0.95, what have you. And you look at your historical results, that would be sort of the starting place for your planning for future races, for an upcoming race. So I wanted to cover going back to one's post-race data and figuring out the actual Riegel exponent. Now I'm going to use this example. This is a runner that for various reasons I found a FTP CP value of 275. Auto CP was 273. After the race, the 273 was corroborated. 275 was possible, but sort of at the upper limit. So we're in that 273, 275 range. But I use 275 in planning. I always use 26.40 miles, which is 42.49 kilometers. I always use that in my planning to anticipate for pod slightly over reporting distance. Just the habit. And I've mentioned this in other videos. And then for the scenarios, I use the table here. I was looking at somewhere in the 310, 311, 309 range for this athlete. So I come over here, and the Riegel exponent that I used was this row right here. So we're looking at the first round, and there's somewhere in there. So we're looking at minus 0.09 is likely, minus 0.08 to minus 0.10 as the range. So in the scenarios, I use that. In the sampling that I did for running effectiveness, I had running effectiveness values of 0.92 to 0.94, 0.93 likely. That's in the sampling I did from long runs and marathon power tempos in the long runs. So here we have the different exponents, minus 0.08 through minus 0.10, and for each of those, that range of 0.92 to 0.94, resulting in an estimated power of around 240 watts to a absolutely very, very long shot best case scenario of 247. With 240 to 244 being the estimated power range or power target for this athlete in terms of best case scenario for outcome. And times it ranged from a low of 315 to, I mean, a low of 305 to a high of 315, centered mostly around 310. That was all that was all before. So afterwards, we found from the file that the actual distance was 26.49 miles. So we're going to put that in to calculate the actual Riegel afterwards. All right. And then we need a actual running effectiveness. So we go back here. We're going to want an actual running effectiveness here, not these estimated values from pre. So we can actually do that with the SuperPower Calculator as well. We come down and choose this function down here, where we can calculate various power metrics, in this case, running effectiveness. We select that power, that particular calculator function, and we come over to the activities, and we put in the actual average power, which was 240, the actual time on the file, which was 310.18, and the actual distance from the file. So these are all the actual outcomes. And then we scroll over here and we see that the athlete had 0.949 was the actual running effectiveness, which was really nice. It was above my range that I had estimated from the samples of 0.92 to 0.94. So it was a little bit higher, which that meant he got more speed from the power he was producing. That's a good thing. But that's what we want to use in calculating the Riegel exponent after the fact, the actual Riegel. We're going to use, again, that running effectiveness comes from the real average power, the time from the file, and the reported distance from the file. So we're going to go back to the main, switch back to that calculator for power scenarios, Riegel exponents, and running effectiveness. We've already, we have those values from before, and we have the actual distance. And we switch over to scenarios. We're going to change this running effectiveness to the actual 0.949. Now it's going to round. It's going to round here for display purposes, but it's actually using 0.949. So when you see me click on something else and see 0.95, it's actually 0.949. So we have all of the actuals inputted now. Now we're just going to play with this to come up with his actual average power, which was 240, and his actual time from the file, 310.18. At least something close to it. So this is too high. So we're going to start off with 0.10. Still a little bit high. So 0.103, and we just play with these various iterations, and we can see that all right, so I have 240 was actual. This rounded would be 240. 310.20, the file was 310.18. So the actual Riegel exponent was minus 0.102, assuming CP 275 was valid. So let's go to auto CP. We're going to change that. And then we're going to go back here to the auto CP. And the exponent is lower. So we'll start with 0.95, and we're a little bit too low or too positive. 0.96. All right, there we go. 240 rounded down, and 310.11, 310.18 was the actual. Let's try this. 0.097, and okay, so I'm gonna say this exponent was 0.96. That seemed to be pretty close. So that is the Riegel exponent, assuming a 273 watt CP. So for this runner, his actual Riegel exponent was somewhere between 0.096 and 0.102, somewhere right in there. So that would be the thing to write down in the somewhere in your notes following this race what the actual Riegel was. And in future planning, you're going to refer to that as the starting point, and you may bracket, a little bit above or more positive, a little bit more negative than that historical value. But as you start establishing historical values after every race, you're going to find that you're centering in a pretty finite area for Riegel exponent. Makes your race planning in the future a lot easier. So there you have it, how to calculate your Riegel exponent post-race and record it so that you have a foundation for future race planning. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.